But Zhu Xi was not responsible for the examination system. And in fact, even in the period where he lived, people become annoyed by these ideas and attack ideas, then not only attack ideas considered totally unconfucian, and they were prohibited from reading. But later it emerged, the power of ideas, the power of texts, and they emerged and people begin to study it. The contemporary situation is the transformation of Maoism. Mao Zedong was so powerful, so important during the Cultural Revolution. Nobody read anything but the little red book. Everybody memorized. You're all too young to understand it. You see the movie. And it's just incredible. He was the most powerful, influential figure in Chinese history. Even influenced people like Michel Foucault, like Derrida, like Jean-Paul Sartre. All these people consider Mao as the major shaper of Chinese culture. He died in 1976, not many years later, right? Even as early as 1980s when I visited China, nobody mentioned Mao. People became embarrassed if they mentioned Mao. And in such a short time, disappeared. Struggle, philosophy of praxis according to Marxism. The incredible power of the Leninist idea. And how many people now study Lenin, study Mao? In Cambridge, when in the 60s, there's so many bookstores. You got Mao's idea. Right now there's only one, which he called, on Mass Avenue, called the Revolution Book, and it's always closed. I try to get some of the old books, like little red book. Right now it's a rare book. If you could find one, you can, if you purchase for $1, you could sell it for 50. And it's, anyway, ideas were powerful in that sense. And Zhu Xi, after he died, it continued to be more important because of all these, you can say politicization, misuse, and people didn't understand and say, I'm a Zhu Xi scholar. In fact, it's not a scholar whatsoever, but anyway, Zhu Xi became a symbol. You cannot bypass it. The second one was his thought. And not just these texts that people want to study, and he recommended. Of course, he also wrote some of the texts, or compiled some of the texts. One of the most influential is called Reflection on Things at Hand. This is basic Confucian teaching. This term came from the analects. You always study something, I say you always study something personally, which means experientially. You begin with the things around you. If you want to run, you should learn to walk. If you want to walk, you should begin with precisely the pace you stand. If you want to go far away, you start with the nearest point. If you want to understand someone, first try to understand your own heart and mind. Otherwise, you cannot understand anyone. If you don't understand the people around you, it's not possible for you to understand people who are far away. If you don't understand the world here and now, you cannot understand the great ideas beyond the world. So all these important issues. So reflections of things at hand. But in terms of thought, many people misunderstand Zhu Xi as a philosopher of the principle. I mentioned the principle of pattern called Yi. This is a total misunderstanding because Zhu Xi's preoccupation was the problem with the heart and mind. And remember this term in Chinese called Xin, which should be rendered as both heart and mind. What's the difference between heart and mind in English? What's the difference?
Emotionally or physically?
No.
Philosophically?
No, that's not.
Emotion versus reason?
Yeah, that's it. When you say mind, it's cognitive. It's reason. It's thinking. Descartes say, this famous term.
Therefore I am.
Yes, I think, therefore I am. Right now, any of you would be able to do that? Can you think without feeling? Can you think without, pure thinking is impossible. So most people now rebel against it, including philosophers, because it is typical dichotomy. Thinking, the mental, is totally different from the physical, right? That's Descartes. It's very fundamental notion. Now the body and mind question, people know they're so much integrated and interactive. So that notion of the separation is wrong, and that separation never considered as a possibility in Chinese philosophy, even in the classical period. So on one side, this xin is mind, which is cognitive. On the other hand, the xin is affective. Affective meaning feeling. And there's one human condition, I hope you all agree with me, that there's always cognitive deficit and affective surplus. The meaning of it is very easy to understand. Our intellectual ability to know always falls short of overflowing of emotion. So emotions are always beyond our, therefore we have to regulate it, we have to control it. And thinking, understanding is always falls short of what we want to do. You heard about the name Bohr. I don't think Bohr.
Niels Bohr?
Niels Bohr?
Niels Bohr?
Yes, you heard about him?
The
In what connection?
Chemistry?
No, not chemistry. Because you study chemistry. Of course, relevant to chemistry, relevant to science in general. He together with Heisenberg, what did they do? Even Einstein failed to understand. That's quantum mechanics. As opposed to quantum mechanics, one observation he made 2 or 3 important observations, is that human beings can only observe. We can only see things as they present to us. But there's so many things we cannot observe, right? Things you observe in front, there's something in the back. You observe on surface, there's something deep. You can never understand it. This is one principle. The other one is we want to see things according to a design, a method. And the method conditions the things, the famous Heisenberg uncertainty principle. You use something to look at something, the way you use it, something has already been changed. Right? There's a third one. Third one is complementarity. No matter how chaotic the world is, they are symmetry, some kind of symmetry. But anyway, now, affective and cognitive, they are integral part of the heart and mind. So Zhou takes this absolutely serious. And how do you relate this heart and mind to the pattern, to the principle? How do I understand the principle that underlies everything through the cognitive and affective functions of the heart and mind? And Zhou position, in a way, is very like Wing-tsit. Let the heart be tranquil. And this, of course, is discipline. Tranquility of the heart and mind, which means your ears become receptive. The clarity of observing of your eyes. And you are impartial. You are disinterested. And this is what you need to do. Of course, it's always in a degree. You cannot be totally impartial. Your mind can never be totally tranquil, but you try. I realize many of you are actually involved in the study of science, and that's the minimum condition. If you don't do it in a disinterested way, you become in love with something, and you study it for the wrong reason, you never get it. The most objective and clear way of looking at the world is mathematics. You just cannot be totally identified with all these geometric forms and so forth. You study it. It's out there. And then physics, chemistry, biology, psychology, anthropology, and of course philosophy and humanities. They're all somehow integrated. This is one position I'm now arguing against, but anyway, this is generally assumed. And mathematics is the basis, and physics is the basis of all sciences. Everything can be reducible to what we call the physicalness. So, Zhou argues that if your heart becomes tranquil, the principle which is inherent in your nature will become elucidated.